Welcome back to another tutorial. Now in this video we're going to look at PHP new concepts. We're going to look at the concepts that have been introduced in PHP 8 in this video. So let's get started. So now the first thing the first topic we're going to start with is referred to as the named argument. So let's look at the named argument in PHP 8. So now named arguments were introduced in PHP 8, and previously we did not have named arguments, but we used to have them in other programming languages. But now we have named arguments in PHP 8. Now, what are named arguments? Named arguments allow passing arguments to a function based on the parameter name rather than the parameter position. So the order in which the named arguments are passed does not matter. So now named arguments are, so the syntax goes like this. So let me just show you the syntax. Let me remove this PHP. So now this is the syntax for the named argument. So we have a function. The function can be a function name, your function. Then you have the parameter name and then the value. And then you declare an array. The array then with the values, as you can see here. So you pass an array of values. That is, you pass an array with a value within the named arguments. So now let's look at this in an example. So this is typically the syntax for named arguments. So let me just clear that. So now let's do an example. So here you can have a function, for example. So now let's have, that is a function. So I'm going to have something like a function biodata, and then I'm going to pass particular variables. So I'm going to say let this be a string. So the string has something like my name, like that. And then we also have let's say, so I'm giving just a biodata, for example, the name and the age. So I'm also going to declare another variable here, which is called age, and give it a value, which is an int of 25, like that. So now this is what the function is going to do. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have something like echo. So we are going to echo the name, and then the name here, I'm going to have the colon like this, and then basically this is what we are going to have. So I'm going to pass a string like this. So we have a string, and then we have echo, and then the age. Now this one should be semicolon, just like this one. So like that. So now here I'm going to pass. Now here is where the unnamed arguments occur. So within the string here, I'm going to pass Brian like this. So after passing Brian like this, and then I'm going to pass the age. So here I'm going to have I'm going to have the string. So I'm going to pass, this should be just the name, and then here I'm going to pass the name here, which is a string, like that. So what is happening here is that now we are passing the particular values. So within here I'm passing a string, which is Brian, and the age, based upon the variables that we have declared here. So you can see now this is what we refer to as named argument. So now so let me just save that one like that. So we have passed the function, the variables, and then we are echoing these particular values. So here, let me try and run this project. So it's going to print the name and the age. So this is what we refer to as named arguments. Now another concept is that you can also have, we have said within named arguments the order does not matter. So what I mean here is that, for example, I may also change some value. So let me just copy this one like this. Let me just print like this. And what will happen is that I will interchange these values. So for example, here I may take this one. So I may take the edge and have the edge there, and then the string would be on the other side. So what I mean here is that within this particular structure, the order does not matter anymore. So this should be, this should be only like that. So the order does not matter. So that means that if I run this one, it is still going to run the same. So that is what happens within, that is the order does not matter within named arguments. Now let's say you pass a string to edge variable. PHP is going to throw an error since you can't override named arguments. In other words, here, for example, let's say now I'm going to so let me comment out this one and let me open this again. Now let's say I pass for example, I pass string, and I also pass string within Brian here. So here I get to pass string as well now in the named arguments. So we have now string Brian, and again we also have string, which is 25. Remember this, the 25 int is declared within edge variable here. And let me say I save this one and try to run. So this is will throw an error since you can't override named arguments. So this is also, that is something you also need to know. You can't override named arguments. Now you can also combine named arguments with positional arguments like this. So for example, so you can also have something like, so let me just show you in a bit. So here, let's say I declare a variable here, which is string, and I give it Brian like that, and then so this is going to be Brian, and then here, so now let me change this to the way it was. This should be edge, and now here, instead of having the named arguments as we had before, I'm going to have string like that and like this. So what happens here is that now string here, which should be a variable here, so not be like that, should just be now string variable. Now what happens here is that this now string stands for positional argument, not named argument. The one that stands for named argument is this one, because now we are assigning as we saw in the syntax, we have an array and then the value. So this stands for named argument and this stands for positional argument. So what happens here is that now we are combining the two. We are combining a named argument and a positional argument. So when I save this one and try to print, let's see. So we are still going to get a similar output. So here we have combined positional and named argument. Alright guys, so if you have any question within named arguments, just post them in the comment section below and I'll check them out. Now let's go to the other topic, which we refer to as constructor property promotion. Now with constructor property promotion, what happens here? Let's take for example the following code. Now let's look at this particular code. Now this code has several things. It has a property definition, it also has a property assignment, and then the constructor. So what happens within constructor property promotion? It's a new concept introduced in PHP 8, is that you can promote this particular that is, now you can see here within property assignment, and then within the float you can combine them here, so that you can, in other words, you can promote these particular variables here, as you can see, which have been assigned the values, and then promote them here within, not here but here within the constructor, so that we do not have what we refer to as code repetition. Now this is a code written in PHP 8, and there's a lot of boilerplate code, especially within the property. So what we can do to overcome this hurdle in PHP 8 is that, in other words, we can rewrite it in a different way so that we can avoid the repetition of code. So now let's look at it in, now let's promote these particular functions within the constructor property promotion. Now I may not need to type much of it, so let me just show you the example. So what is going to happen now, that this is the code. So this is the code. So now what is happening here is that what we have done here is that we have promoted the properties and the property assignment. So we have now combined them in this particular place here. So we have taken the float, the value, and the value, that is the property, and the values assigned to the particular variables, as you can see here. And this is what now referred to as constructor promotion. And then now this one is just a class that we have declared, and then the object, and then the object that is accessing the particular elements within the constructor promotion, and now it's going to print these particular values. It's just a simple program. So, but what I need you to understand is the introduction of constructor property promotion, whereby we have just promoted the particular variables. That is where we had the property assignment, where we had this, and then the float, which were declared in one part. So now this one reduces a lot of boilerplate code, and then now you are able to work with something that is a bit nicer and smaller. So now when I save this one and run, it's just going to print the particular values as we have assigned them within this particular class. So guys, this is the property constructor promotion in PHP 8. Now there are several things you need to take in mind. Now, for example, you can't use constructor promotion with properties of that is, you can't use constructor promotion with the variables declared like callable in that is within the constructor. For example, here, let's say here I use something like callable. Sorry, it should be callable like this. So you can't use callable within your constructor promotion. Now, callable is a property declared within PHP that is used within to declare variables and so forth. So now you can't use callable in PHP 8 in the constructor promotion. It will just run an error, and you can see the error shows cannot use float as default value for parameter type callable. So this can't work with parameter type of callable. Another concept you need to understand is that you can't have two promoted properties within the constructor promotion. Let me return this to float. So that is what you need to know here, is that you can't use, for example, let's say within here, within the class sample here, you can't declare float. So something like, you can't have public, and then that is, you can't have something like public float equals to like that. You can't have. So this one will also draw a particular error. So as you can see, so you can't have two properties declared within the, sorry, this should not be an equal sign. So you can't use, so the error says here cannot really declare particular functionality. So now this is what we refer to as constructor promotion within the constructor property promotion. Alright, now the next concept is union types. Now union types, with PHP 8 you can use union types. that accept values of multiple different types rather than a single one. So what we mean by union types is that with union types you can have different or multiple data types that are declared in a particular variable, so that you can assign several values within that particular variable and still be able to print. For example, you can have string, float, and integer being declared within one variable and assign that variable different values, that is a float, a string, or an integer at the same time. So that is what we refer to as union. Now let's look at example of a program like this one that I've created. Now this program, what it does is that it has a class record that I've declared. So now where we have this part here, as you can see, there's a comment which says this defines union types. So we have an int, a string, and a float being declared within the record variable. As well, we also have a function which is just a method. What it does, it is just setting the records like this. And what I want you to take note is the union types here. We are using more than one union type. We're using an int, a string, and a float. So basically this is the union type in PHP 8. And then we are calling this keyword and assigning the particular variable, and then a function to get the record and then return the particular record. And now here I'm declaring an object, and the object is now going to access and print the particular values. So here you can see here I'm setting the record. Now I'm passing the particular values that I need within here. So the first one I'm passing is a string, which is this one. So what means here is that I can now, if I save this program here like this, so I'm having the print record, which is going to print for us the particular record. So if I run this program here, it is going to print two records like this, and now that is a string. So that tells you here I can also pass something like integer like that, and let me save and let me run this. So that is an int. I can also now pass 2.7, that is a float, and as well run, and it will still print. So now that tells you this is what we refer to as union. You can have more than one data type being declared within a variable in PHP 8. So this is how simple it is. You can read more about it in the documentation below. I'll post it so that you can follow. If you have any question on this, post them in the comment section and I will follow up with you. Now the next concept we are looking at is the match expression. Now what match expression does is that match expression has something like this. This is the syntax for match expression. So match expression, it has a subject expression that is compared against multiple alternatives. It evaluates and returns a value rather than going to a new block. So what is happening here is that I have subject expression, and then I'm going to compare this particular subject expression with the different different expression, conditional expression, and then I'm going to return the particular expression. So this is what is happening here. So this behaves similarly like a switch, but match expression is a bit different in one or the other that we're going to look at. So this is typically the syntax of match expression. Another thing we need to know, it has to end with a semicolon here and so forth. So now let's look at this one in an example form to understand, for your understanding. So here I'm going to have something like this. So we can have something like, we can have, for example, records here. So I can have record which is equal to, sorry, this should be equal to 1, and then I'll have a match keyword like this. So here I'm having records like so, and then, sorry, this should not be that way. So I'm having something like I'm going to compare different values within the, in other words, I'm going to print different records within this. So let me just print and show you. So I can have one record there like that. So let me just copy this and so here I'm having 2 and here I'm having 3 like this. So here this one should be something like 2 records. Here I'm having something like 3 records. So here, and then let me end that with the semicolon. So what I'm going to do, so you can guess what is going to print here, because I've given it to match the record of 1. So it's going to print the first one, which should be the first record here. So let me say this one. So you can guess here it's going to print the first record here. As you can see, the first one. So that is the first concept in understanding the match record. So it's going to match the first one and print this one here. Now you can also structure it way in this way. For example, now here we have the records here like this. So I can also have something like this. So I can declare it, within result like this. So I'm having the match record like that, and then here, instead of having to print here, so I can have this one like that, and then here I'll have something like echo at result like that. So what happens here is that so what's happening here is that now I'm going to print the particular records here. So instead of having the print statement which was repeating all around within the records array, so I'm just going to have an echo result, since we have already assigned the result variable to match our records here. So it is still going to print the same result. So that is how you can structure it that way. Now as well, you can also structure it in another way like this. So I'm having record here which is defined, so I can also have it in this way. I can also do it, I can also say echo match, and then here I just match the particular values here. So I'm having echo match 1, and then here I will not need the echo, since I've already given it in this way. So I'm just having an echo match and then the particular echo. So it means that even this one may not be needed in this way. So if I print out this one, it is still going to print the same result. So you can structure it in that particular way. Now, just like switch statement, you can also use default keyword to print if not found record like this. So just like in the switch statement whereby we have the default value, so we can also use the same concept to print out default. For example, if it is searches and there is no result that is found, we can also print there is no result that was found. So I can also have this one in this way. So I can also have result. So this should be a result. So I'm having result like that, and then let me just give this one records as we had before. So it should be so as well. I'm going to have the echo, so echo result like that, and then this one, let me open it, Now here I'm going to give something like 4. Now when you look at 4 is not found within our printout, that is within our array of values here. So what we're going to have here is that we're going to have a default keyword here. So we're going to have something like that. So this is a default keyword here, and then we're going to have something like no records, like that, and so forth. So this is how we are going to have. So it's going to search within this particular array of values, and then it's going to search if there is any record within that, and then it's going to print the result here. So here what we expect it to print no records, since there is no record within, that is matching the number that we have assigned here. So that is how we use match records. So if you have any question, link them in the description below, and I'll follow up with you. So the next concept we're going to look at is the null save operator. Now what is null save? Now what is null save operator? Null save operator is it has this syntax. It has something like this. So we can have something like this. So this is what we refer to as a null save operator. So what null save operator does is that it applies to a chain of element, whereby in that chain of element, if the chain of element fails, then the execution of the entire chain will abort, and the evaluation becomes null. So that is what happens with the null save operator. So null save operator, what it does is that it returns null if a particular chain of operator fails. Now in PHP 8, what it has overcome. Now let's look, for example, a program like this, so that you can understand. Now look at an example of a program like this. I have a program that has a variable transaction, the customer, and then the payment status. What is happening here is that I'm examining this transaction and assigning it to null, and then checking the session, opening a session, and then checking if it's not null. Then it should show the customer and the payment status of the customer, that is using the method get payment. And then we're also checking again the payment status of the customer if it's not equal to null. Now what is happening here is that it is leading me to what we refer to as deeper nesting. Deeper nesting. So deeper nesting is a problem that has been PHP 7 and other previous versions. So you find that it will loop over and over, leading to a more deeper nesting, which brings redundancy in code, and also problems in our code. So in PHP 8 has introduced this null save operator, whereby it avoids the deeper nesting, and then if it finds that within the chain of element, or in other words, one chain of element fails, then it will just return null, instead of leading us to a deeper nesting. So now let's look at an example of an null save operator program in this tutorial. So here I'm going to have something like this. So this is a simple program that I've written. So what it's doing is that we have a class transaction, and then we have public function get payment status. So we are going to get a class, the new object, and then now here, this is where I want you to understand. So we have a customer is equals to transaction, then the null save operator, and then the get payment status is going to check if it's null or not, and then the customer, and then returns the receipt of the customer, and then I'm going to echo the customer. So now this one has avoided the deeper nesting, whereby it as we have said, the null save operator will evaluate if a value it evaluates if a value is it's null. If it's not null and it fails, then in other words, what it happens here is that the chain of element or the chain of execution will stop if the value is evaluated to null. And if it will not evaluate to null, then it will behave like a normal operator. So that is what is happening here. It will behave like a normal operator, and if it finds the element is not equal to null, it does not evaluate to null, that is, it evaluates to null, then the element, the whole execution will be stopped. So now when I save this program and run, it will return null, right? So this is what null save operator does. It has avoided the deeper nesting by running the whole chain of execution and stopping at a particular point. So maybe you may not have understood some part, but I'll leave you the documentation for more of your understanding. Now let's look at last two elements, important concepts in PHP 8, Sana string to number comparison, and the GIT, just-in-time compilation. So watch the whole video so as to understand these concepts. Alright, so let's continue. Sana string to number comparison. What it does here is that PHP uses number comparison to compare numeric string and converts the number to a string and then uses the string comparison. So what is happening here is that this is a concept that has been introduced in PHP 8, but it was a problem in PHP 7. And what it used to do is that, for example, I can have a variable, I can have something like this. So this should be, so I can have, let's say I have a string like oranges, like this, and then I say oranges is equal to 0, like this, and then let me just end it with a colon. Now we know this statement is not true because oranges can be equal to oranges. It can be equal to an int. In other words, they are not the same. You can say 0 is equals to 0, which is true, but in PHP 7 this was true. So it will not know if the particular assigned values, like the 0 is an int and oranges is a string. But in PHP 8 what it does is that it compares, and what it does, it converts the 0 into a string and then compares it with the particular string assigned, for example oranges, and then now if it finds oranges is not equal to 0, having been converted, then it returns to a false. So now let's look at this one in an example. So you can have something like var dump, and then here I'm going to have oranges like this. Then I'm going to say oranges is equals to 0, and then I'm going to close that one. Now this one, if we run, it is going to be true. It's going to be false because we know oranges can be equal to 0 in PHP 8. So it will return the boolean false. But in PHP 7 it would have returned to true. So that is what we refer to as Sana string to number comparison in PHP 8. You can read more about it, but typically this is what was improved in PHP 8. So now let's look at just-in-time compilation. Now what just-in-time compilation did is that with GIT the code is compiled at runtime, which results in faster code execution. Now what we mean by there is that this code when you enable just-in-time compilation in php.ni, is that it results into your code is converted to a machine code which is run at which is normally combined at the runtime and executed as well. So now this one enables your code to run in a faster manner. So you can enable GIT mode in php.ni, and then the following are the settings that you must configure so as to have a GIT enabled. So what you need to understand is that GIT results into a faster code execution. Your code will execute faster. It is a concept that has been introduced in PHP 8. As well, in Tailwind CSS, if you have knowledge of Tailwind CSS, there is also just-in-time mode that was also enabled in Tailwind CSS. I've also done a tutorial on Tailwind CSS just-in-time, so you can also check if you are using Tailwind CSS as your front-end language. So what we have here in PHP, now you can enable this one. So the first thing here, you need to know that you can enable it in your php.ni like this. So in your XAMPP, in your XAMPP, within your Apache here, so we have the config. So here we have the php.ini. Now within this file is whereby you need to go and enable your GIT within this particular file. So let me just close it. So once you have opened the file, so these are the settings you need to have. For example, the first one will be the op cache. So you are going to have the op cache. You are going to set it to .enable, and then here you are going to set it to a non-zero value. I will explain this one just in a second. As well, you also have the op cache with .git. So here you're also going to have the non-zero value like this. As well, you also have the op cache .git, which you can also set it to something like tracing like this. Yeah. So now this is what you need to do. You need to set in the file as we discussed before. So what is happening here? Why did I say a non-zero value? A non-zero value simply refers to it is made up of 4 digits, and within these 4 digits you can set up the particular values that you need your op cache to run under. Now this one depends on the memory size, also within your PHP configuration and so forth. Now you can go and learn more about it. I'll also link a description below to read more about it, since it's a newly introduced concept. But what you need to do, you can have a setting of, for example, let's say for example I can have like 1255. These are 4 digits, and every digit will stand for a particular value that the just-in-time compilation will consider as you are running your application. Alright, so the same concept will also apply on the opcache.git, which is also set to a non-zero value. Now opcache.git tracing, what we refer to is that it looks at the entire stack trace and looks for optimizable code. In other words, what it does, it optimizes your code so that your code may run at a faster rate. In other words, instead of now setting the non-zero values here, as I've shown you here, you can just set your op cache to tracing. Now this one is one of the best ways you can use, because it will just monitor and run your code. That is, it will monitor and optimize your code for faster code execution. So that is what it does, and it is highly recommended that you use if you are not using the values within here. But it's up to you to experiment your application, and that's why I set these ones to non-zero value, because you need to experiment with your application so that you can know which are the best values that you can put within your application. So that is GIT. The op cache, you can read more about it for you to understand, but it is also involved within a memory size within your application, and it is whereby now it is able to determine your memory size within your PHP application, and by setting the non-zero values, then you are able to run your application in a faster way. So guys, that is it. So these are some of the important topics I thought of within the PHP 8 that you need to know. We also have other topics that are also there. You can also go and check out. We also have the error improvements within PHP 8, and as well we also have there's a concept I did not touch on, which is the attributes and so forth. So we also have other topics such that have been introduced, and mostly what I've shown you is what are some of the important topics if you are a PHP developer or if you are a Laravel developer. So guys, let's meet in the next tutorial. So remember to subscribe to this channel by hitting the bell for notification, and also like this video, share it with your friends. And now you can also go and check this particular tutorial if you have not understood some of the things I've explained. You can also go and look at this particular concept in my website that is called Web Dev Trainee. You can go and type PHP Advanced course. I will also leave the link in the description below there, so that you can follow up in this particular website. So you can have a look at the website. So here we have the PHP 8 new features. So once you just click, it will take you to a particular site, and then you can just go and learn here within my website, Web Dev Trainee tutorial. So that's it guys. So let's meet in the next video.